Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 57.2. I'm your host, Emily, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry and all over the interwebs as AndersMill Knits. And I am joined today by two beautiful women, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie. I can be found on Ravelry as Hot Pink Socks and on Instagram as Hot Pink Socks Reviews.
And I'm Jen, and you can find me on Ravelry as BostonJen and on Instagram as BostonJen1.
Beautiful. Thank you. Now, there's so much to know about us. And if you want to know about us, go and watch episode 57.1. Okay? But so we're just going to assume that you've already watched that one, and we're just going to jump in to the rest of our segments, except for one thing. I forgot to mention that I feel like, a genius idea for another swap. However, I must have done something wrong because I never got the poll results from my Instagram polling thing. And I know people voted.
You could always repost it in the group if that was of interest.
Yeah. So my idea is different from Stephanie's idea. So we're going to present both of them to you, and then we're going to do voting over on our Ravelry group. I think we should host it on the For the Love of Minis group.
Make the call, whatever works, I'm good with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our swap group For the Love of Minis will be where you go on Ravelry. And so if you just put into the Google search, the Ravelry search For the Love of Minis, it will come up. There's 2 asterisks in front of the name. But anyway, so this is what we're going to do, and you're going to vote. The first idea was my idea. I think it's because I've been really aware of all of my coworkers' feelings of unease, or we called it earlier, well, when we were just chit-chatting, just the 3 of us, we called it ennui. And that COVID ennui, winter ennui. And so I thought, which ennui means boredom, right? Or not knowing what to do with yourself. You're so bored. So I thought, what if we did a comfort swap where you were partnered with another person and you got to know them a little bit, and you sent them a skein of yarn that you think would bring them comfort and joy, which I know sounds kind of Christmassy, but still. And something to go along with it. Like, it could be whatever their other hobby is. Like, if you were my partner, you might send me some things for art journaling, like maybe a nice pen or something like that. Or if, I don't know, with BostonJen, what would be something that somebody might include in that for you?
Ooh, maybe some delicious chocolate, or maybe a book, something like that.
See? So things like that would bring us comfort, and with a budget limit of up to $50. So that's my idea. However, Stephanie, what was your idea?
Mine was a step into spring, thinking about the spring, thinking about being in warmer weather and longer days. And I'm a sock knitter, so I thought, why not think about your partner and think about how they could be knitting a skein of sock yarn now for a pair of spring socks come a little bit later.
Which honestly is a super fun idea. So I like both ideas. And so yes, I choose. So we wanted to see what you guys would like to do, or if you just don't want to do it. Just let us know.
No pressure.
We won't be offended. Because Stephanie and I could totally just swap on our own. But
sure.
But what we'll do is we'll put in For the Love of Minis, just a voting forum for if you would like to do this, which one you would like to do. Or you can comment below in this episode and just let us know which one you would like to do, and we'll take that into account. And if you guys want to move forward, then by the next episode, we'll announce what we're going to do and put in like where you can enter to get a partner and the timelines and all of this. Now, this is an additional optional swap. Swaps are never required. And we have a twice yearly swap, which Jen mentioned in the last episode, where it first started out of the 24 days of cheer. and where we've done that for what, 5 years now?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And so you get a partner and you create minis from your stash of leftovers and what have you, to then send to them for each day of the 24 days leading up to Christmas. And then mostly we've been giving people the option as to whether or not they want to include a 25th day big skein. I think we've only ever had like 2 people ever opt out of the big skein option. But we loved it so much that we thought that July would also be a great time to do it. But we called that one something different, and I can never get the name right.
It's, and don't quote me on this one, I believe it is Happy Everything and Merry Always, or it's whatever that cute little quote is. Just because we wanted it to be inclusive of everybody. It's not really a holiday, but it's kind of that halfway mark, and why not do something fun? And because we all love the idea of an advent calendar, just the little mini idea again. And this is not nearly as big as the 24 days of cheer. We want this one to be a little more tailored down. So this is, you know, maybe throw in a chapstick with your minis or something like that. So it's not nearly as big, but like we said, kind of just a halfway through the year kind of pick me up.
Yeah. And so we're going to need to be opening the signups for that soon. So it'll probably be by the end of March or maybe beginning of May that you'll be seeing us come out with the signups for that, so that we can get everybody paired up, and because it takes a lot of time, right, Jen? I mean, this was your first time doing it, but it takes a lot of time.
The fun is preparing it. I had so much fun figuring out what I was going to gift and how I was going to gift it, and that's a lot of the joy of it for me. So I'll definitely be participating. Don't let me forget.
Okay,
will do.
You got it. Yeah. And so, but it usually takes, for me, it usually takes a couple weeks where I'm just working on it, maybe one night a week for a couple hours. And then I finally have my package ready to send off. If I try and do it all in one go, I kind of get a little angry.
Yeah.
Well, and Jen brought up a really good point. If any of you are interested in either one of the 2 swaps, there is an open chat thread that just says, hey, I'm interested in it. It's not a sign a dotted line, you have to do it, but it just gives me an indication of, hey, I need to let you, and you know that we're about ready to open this up for application or, entries into that. So just put your little name and, hey, I'm interested and would love a little information about it.
Yeah. So look for those things coming up. And in the meantime, Jen, I think you've wrapped up your football season, right?
Yeah, we ended the Monday after the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So no cows or swaps right now?
No, nothing going on just yet. I'll start ramping up all the behind the scenes stuff. We open the splash pad party usually at the end of May. Last year we opened it a little late, so we'll see. But yeah, that'll start in the spring.
But see, that's also coming up. So be looking out for that. And remember that Jen's main platform is audio podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I highly recommend going over and listening.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So we are on to FOs. So
I have a whopping goose egg this week.
You had a half finished object.
I do. I did finish one sock. So it's kind of like a robin egg blue with purple and just a fleck of little lime green specklies running throughout. So this is the last pair of socks I will be knitting for my little lady who has asked me to knit her essentially a collection of hand knit socks. And so I've really enjoyed putting my effort and my time into somebody else and bringing them joy because she's not able to do it for herself. So, but this will be the last set that I send to her, and I have a couple waiting to put in the big package to go out in the mail. So other than that, I don't have much this week.
How many will that make though? Have you been keeping track?
I think it'll be a total of 10. And then she had her eye on a shawl and she couldn't decide. And So I said, how about I give you 2 options of shawls and 2 different colors? And she kind of brought it in with that. And I think it was last time we did the girl at the grocery store shawl for her. So she's very, very excited about that as well. So.
You are such a kind gift knitter.
You're so sweet.
What about you, Miss Jen? How about you? What FOs do you have?
I have a big FO this week. I finished a sweater.
Woohoo!
Now, big FO in that it's also big chunky yarn. So I knit the Ursa sweater by Jacqueline C. Slack. So it's a V-neck, top down. I think it was raglan style. And then it's got brioche on the bottom, so that triangle.
Oh, I was wondering what that was.
It's half brioche. And then that also goes down the side seam as well.
Ooh.
And then under the arm.
Oh, that's nice. It kind of ties that whole pattern right in.
It really does. And I thought about altering and putting in like some ribbing or something on the cuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really liked the way that it just flows in there and looks beautiful. And no one else had really changed it. I did look on Ravelry for modifications, and no one had really made any. And I figured, well, maybe there was a good reason for that. So it's like, I don't need to make everything difficult. Maybe I could just knit the sleeve and be done with it. And it's chunky weight yarns. I think I used size 11 needles. So it's very, very quickly. It's just under 500 grams. Yeah. So like 5 skeins of yarn. Yeah. And it was a really fast knit. I hadn't really done brioche except for swatching either. Emily was talking about that on the first half of ours. So it was fun. And so then back to sort of what you were I haven't talked about the yarn. Let me talk about that first. So this yarn was actually sent to me for review. So I did not pay for this yarn. So full disclosure there. I got the yarn through Stitchcraft Marketing, who reached out to me. And the yarn is from Kramer Yarns, and it's their mock chunky. And it's all made and milled in America, which is awesome.
Very cool.
And it's a very affordable yarn. I think it would have been around $8.50 per skein, somewhere in there. And I used 5 skeins. And I know that I'm not a huge person, and it's a cropped sweater, so keep that in mind. But I still think you could make many sizes of a sweater with a chunky weight yarn at a pretty affordable price point. So I think it's great. Now, one thing to note is that it is a singles yarn. I've only worn it once, but I haven't seen any real pilling yet. So that seems like a pretty decent sign. I do expect that it will pill, but again, I don't mind shaving sweaters and stuff. And if it doesn't last my whole life, that's fine. It's kind of a trendy style, so probably not going to wear this when I'm 80 anyways. So it was a good time to take a chance on a single weight and just try out something different. So
your grand niece might want to wear it.
Right. Everything old is new again. So that's a very good point. So hopefully it does stand up and someone will wear it. Now, I will tell you, I haven't posted finished pictures yet, but I took a whole bunch of finished pictures styled with some skinny jeans and just a t-shirt that fit nicely underneath it. And I thought it looked awful on me. And we were talking sort of about like body image and fit and stuff on the first half of this episode. And if you get good at taking pictures, you can find a flattering angle for anything. So I've got some fantastic pictures of this sweater on me, but I will also tell you that if you just look at me straight on, it is and it's meant to be oversized, but in my opinion, it looks very big, especially in through here, because I am not very large chested. So I'm not sure it's the world's most flattering sweater on me. And I debated giving it to my mom, but it's not really her color, but I wore it out anyways. I said, I'm just going to be brave and I'm going to wear it and see what happens. And I went thrifting with my mom and my niece, and it was warm in the store. So I took off my jacket and they were both like, oh, that's incredible. And I was like,
there you go.
Okay. So, and sometimes that's helpful, right? Like I was saying to you, they're my family. They love me. They wouldn't have lied to me. If they just thought the sweater was okay, they'd be like, hey, you finished a sweater, And that's the funny thing about pictures is that they can lie to you on both ends, right? So like I found a way to take really flattering pictures.
Yes.
I also found a way to take really unflattering pictures. But in real life, we're not just standing static in front of anybody. We're moving. The sweater is moving. I think it's going to be fine. And so I share that mostly just to say, like, try not to judge yourself too harshly when you're trying on something new and you're just getting that one weird angle in the mirror or in the camera and thinking, well, this was a giant waste of time, because maybe it wasn't.
Yeah. I think that's the key to what you're saying is because that's what happens to me is I look in the mirror and I'm just like, heavens no, this is never going to work. Even with the sweater I'm wearing now, I feel like it's too big and it makes me look wider. But every time I wear it, like the compliments just flood in, you know? So
another thing to keep in mind too, is that like you're looking at yourself from a very unique angle, and everybody else is probably a little taller and a little shorter and looking at you from very different angles than you're ever looking at yourself. So never mind being our own worst critic.
And are we not our own worst critic? Let's be honest.
For sure.
Oh yeah. But I've seen that sweater that you knit there, Jen, around, and I have just never thought that a plus size girl like me, although they have beautiful pictures of plus size girls for the pattern.
So many.
And they look absolutely beautiful in it, but I've never been able to picture myself in it. But maybe when you post some pictures of it, I mean, you're the exact opposite of me, right? You're this tiny little thing and I'm not. But still, maybe that'll give me some impetus. Although, you know, I'll just be honest, probably won't.
And I think a lot of that too, what plays into that is we all have a different hair color. We all have a different skin tone. We all have colors that look good on us and don't look good on us. So it may not always be the actual garment. It may just be the amenities that are accessorized with that, or, you know, it's better with my hair up. It's better, you know, all those things play into it as well.
That's very true.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing I would say is if and when life gets back to normal and maybe we can go back to fiber festivals or events like that, try on any garment that you can get your hands on, even if you think it would look terrible on you, because you'll just be so surprised at what things you like and what things you don't. And then you don't have to knit a certain fit or a certain style if you've already tried one on and you know that it maybe doesn't look great on you, then you don't have to bother knitting one. So
yeah,
it's a great way to try things.
Yeah, I've heard
I go to the fiber festival with you. I'll tell you if it's good or not.
Exactly.
Don't do that. Oh, that's a good one.
That'll be great. Oh man, when we get that back rolling, like when things are possible. We were talking before we started recording about Jen, I don't even know that you were here, but so when we've been talking about like what my wedding's going to look like, and we know that come this next September, probably most people are going to be vaccinated, but not all. And we're still going to need to be careful. So we're hopefully, fingers crossed, don't quote me on this, but my hope is that we'll have a campground that I have my eye on rented out for a night. And it's got this big, beautiful field and everybody can, spread out, and then everybody has their own camping spot. Yeah. And it'll just in my head, it just seems like the most COVID-licious event.
I just got goosebumps. It sounds great.
Right?
Yeah.
But and so I also picture Jeremy and I wearing hand knit sweaters for this event and also for our engagement photos. So be looking for that soon, guys.
Do you have any FOs for this week?
Yes, but I'll get to that. But my thought process is that if we ever get back to that, I'm going to try and rent out that same campground so we can have a retreat here in Alaska. Yeah.
Don't have to twist my arm twice.
No. But I have 2 FOs. One you already saw, my ball band with the twist.
That was super cute.
Yes, I loved it. Which we haven't even had to reach in to. You like it how it says Prego on the lid? You know how cheap Emily is. But we haven't even had to reach in for a question yet. But the other thing is the ugliest Yoda you have ever seen.
He is not.
Oh, his ears are so wonky.
How was the gift received?
Oh, he loves it.
Good.
Absolutely loves it. Although he does admit that the ears are wonky, but he says it gives him character. So, but he just has been sitting on Jeremy's desk and gaming with him for the past couple nights. And so we really like it. I'm tempted to try and make a little crochet hook thing so that he can put it on his rearview mirror in his car. But I don't know. That might be too weird. But so how I finished this was so that it would stand up. I was trying to figure it out and I couldn't find any dried beans in my house. So I had an inspiration. Pennies would fit perfectly down here. So I took 3 pennies, 6 total, 3 in each leg. And this bad boy sits perfectly. And it doesn't
weighted.
Yep.
Nice.
But it doesn't feel like it's weighted. Like when you pick it up, he's still nice and light and everything. So
good idea.
I mean,
that's
so there's I don't know, somebody's probably done that in the past, but I felt very smart.
Do you want to hear something funny that I didn't share with you during the whip segment about my little horse here? So I was telling you I went to the thrift shop last weekend with my nieces and my mom, and I bought this crazy green vintage Liz Claiborne sweater that is like cropped and cabled and floral. It's insane, but I love it. But it came with shoulder pads. So I put the shoulder pads in the bottom. I'm like, I need stuffing and I want the bottom to sit flat. So I put the 2 green shoulder pads in his bum.
Smart.
And it does. It works.
It's perfect. See?
Good idea.
We reuse and upcycle here.
Yeah, I didn't want to throw them in the trash, which I literally opened the trash bin and then I was like, I can't throw them in the trash. And then right on the sofa was the horse. I'm like, hello.
That's super smart.
That's genius. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's literally the perfect shape for that.
It was. Yeah.
If you think about it, your shoulder is a mini butt.
Yeah. Perfect. Good call on that one.
Yeah. Well done. Okay. So at this point, I wanted to transition over to talking about our crafting life, talking about things like how we organize it, how can we make it so that it is enjoyable, but doesn't overwhelm us. For instance, like Stephanie just talked about how she's finishing up 10 pairs of gifted socks that she's knitting. And I know all of us have people in our lives that ask for hand knit things. I have it constantly. There's somebody in my life who's constantly asking me for a black skull, black knitted cap with a skull motif on it. And I'm just like, no way in HE double hockey sticks am I knitting that. I'm sorry. But they talk about it constantly. Yeah. And that's just one of many people who ask for hand knits. But that's one object and one aspect. But then there's also, how do we manage our stash? How do we manage our crafting time versus everything else? How do we organize what's most important to focus on, what projects, so on and so forth. And Jen is very good at this. And I will just say there's one way in particular that she's super good. It's called using the Evernote app. And she recently came out last month with a 2 video thing with her mom. Yeah, on how to use Evernote. So I would highly suggest going over and looking at that. But
I would highly suggest just going over there and watching her channel because she's fabulous.
Well, thank you. So do you want me to talk a little bit about the basics of what you'll see in those 2 videos is that I use Evernote to document my goals for the year, and then I break those down into quarterly goals and then into monthly goals and weekly goals. Mm-hmm. And obviously the weekly goals draw from the larger goals so that at the end of the year, hopefully I'm doing all of the things that I've decided at the beginning of the year are important to me. And so I create different notes in a sort of a notebook system in the Evernote app, but you can use any different kind of task management kind of software. There's plenty of programs that you could do the same kind of workflows that I talked about. Evernote is just my app of choice. I'm not affiliated with them or anything. It's just what I've been using it for years. And it's just a great way for me to keep everything up to date and accessible, because I have it on my phone, I have it on my laptop, my iPad. So it's just an easy way for me to look. And so then as none of those things take a lot of time once you kind of have the basic structure. And then at the start of each week, I can just make a list of what I plan to do for that week. And then because I am working from home mostly now, I tend to make a list for my day, having looked at what I'm hoping to do for the week. And then I set a few goals for the day. And then anything else that I get done, but wasn't necessarily part of my goals, I list in the ta-done section. So it's like, ta-da, it's finished. And I don't write down every single thing that I accomplished, but sometimes it's nice to look back at the end of the week and say, I feel like I got nothing done. And you can look back, and I recommend that folks start small with just maybe 1, 2, 3 things on your daily list, and maybe even on your weekly list. And each day you're kind of ticking off things to get there. But you can look back if you're doing even just some basic notes to say, wow, I got a lot done this week. It's easy to forget by the end of the week or the end of the month. And so this system is working for me. So in the videos, I share a little bit more details, some actual screen shares of my system. And then my mom has actually started using the system in the way that I use it. And so the second video is more of her showing us how she's implemented it, and she tweaks and changes things. Like, none of us are ever going to do anything exactly the same. And I think that's perfect. Like, our lives are different. Our goals are different. Some people are paper people. Some people are electronic people. You got to find what works best for you and what level of detail you want to do, and that feels achievable to continue. And I think it's fun. I love productivity. It just gets me excited.
I completely agree with you. And it's interesting that I'm like you in that I have a combination where I'm very much on my computer, using my apps on my computer, especially for work. But then I find the tactile experience of writing down my daily planner. If you notice, that's when I'm going to go get my second shot. So I put it on my planner. But every single day, I like to sit down and I do it at the beginning of the week, where I put down, okay, I know all of these appointments, all of these meetings are going to happen. And so I put that all in my journal. Well, technically I do it at the beginning of the month, and then I update it every week, and then I update it every day. Especially like yesterday, my to-do list kept on getting longer and longer, but I do something different where I put a check mark by mine, and I really appreciate that. And I love seeing the check marks. And if you notice, there's a couple on here. Well, no, wait, I didn't even update it. Finished crocheting the cozy. I forgot to check mark that, but I wasn't able to journal yesterday. So that's carrying over, not tonight, but to Saturday. And I'm okay with that. I don't have to get everything done. This is I would like to do. And if it's a must do thing, I have my own certain way of denoting that. Usually I put a star by it, or I highlight it in highlight marker so I don't forget. But otherwise, I like doing both. And I wish I could say I use one more than the other, but for at least my life, especially with work, like, meetings come up 15 minutes prior to the actual meeting. Like, all of a sudden, I'll be looking at my calendar. I'll be like, where did that come from? I didn't know I had a community meeting at 12:15. What? And so I have to constantly be checking both. But this for me works. And also what I really like is that usually at the end of the day, I have a great gratitude section in here that I always write what I'm grateful for. And so yesterday it was, I'm grateful to share my yarn with my mom and my nieces. That's
I love that. I kind of do that too. So my word for the year for 2021 is delight. So I always put under my list of to-dos is my delight. So I haven't written down, but you two ladies are my delight for today because this has been delightful already. But it's nice to look back and reflect on that and to have it documented. And I actually do go back at the end of the week and I put these in Evernote so that I'll have a whole year's list.
That's a really good idea. Yeah. And what about you, Steph? What's your style?
I am a paper planner girl. I do like to make a list at the beginning of the week and as best as I can, try and schedule everything out, whether it's meal planning, whether it's crafting, visits to doctors, whatever it is. I call it being on sabbatical. I'm not working right now because I'm home with our girls who are hybrids. So someone's got to be home to kind of help them and do that. And I found that when I was in my professional life, so much of what I did was digital or on the computer that I really missed. I missed a paper planner. I missed using a nice fountain pen and I missed being able to doodle or scribble. And so, probably for the last 3-4 years or so, I get my little 40% off coupon at Hobby Lobby and I go get a happy planner and I'm content,
Yeah.
For me, it's kind of all encompassing. It's not just my crafting, it's my meal planning, my crafting, and my actual calendar. So I try and combine everything so that at a week or a month's glance, everything is denoted so that I'm not missing anything.
And do you do it by hour? Do you are you that or what do you?
No, I am more of a list person as far as what needs to get done for the day, the week, the month, and then as either events are scheduled and or things I need to remember or dinner planning, I just fill up my day. Let's say I have a 9 o'clock dentist appointment. I'll put in there 9 o'clock dentist appointment, pick up girls at whatever time and hit the library, dinner is this. So it's still within my day. If there's a specific time I put it in, but I am more of a list maker, so to speak, in that regards.
Yeah. And so as you guys are noticing, like just in this small group right here, there are 3 different ways. And even within that, there are multiple ways within the 3 ways that we've already talked about. So every single person is different. One size does not fit all. I used this analogy last night in the training I was giving. I said, I'm Cinderella and you're Cinderella. My glass slipper ain't going to be your glass slipper. So I think the thing for me is that figuring out what works for me, the journey to that was extremely frustrating. And I found myself continuously being confused, but especially this last year, when I really paid attention to it, I started actually keeping track of the things that annoyed me. So for instance, one of the things that truly annoyed me was in my past planners, I didn't have a place where I could put a to-do list. And on my Outlook calendar, the to-do list on that always annoyed me because I felt like it never presented itself the way I needed it to. And so I was constantly forgetting to do things. And that would make me feel even more frustrated. So then I would lose the train of thought again, right? So for me, finding a planner that has a to-do list in it was very important and actually really hard, to tell you the truth, to find one that had enough space for me to plan out my day, because I also like to keep notes. So this one has a notes section at the bottom of each day. Let's see if you can see it. So this is a notes section next to the gratitude section, but also notice there's enough room here for me to write things. Mm-hmm. So I take great advantage of that because thoughts come to me randomly. And so, and I don't want to forget things. So this works very well for me. If I put it in my phone in the notes app, I'll forget it as I never go back and look at the notes app.
Yeah.
But I look at this 17 times at least a day. So
yeah, that's really the key. Like getting things out of your head is so good for your brain. Like our brains aren't really meant to store everything. They're meant to process. So where people say they have great memories, but you're really creating some drag when you're using a lot of your brain to store everything. And I'm not a scientist, but I've read a lot on this stuff.
No, but you're great. Yeah. Yeah.
But when we can really allow our brains to use its processing power to do creative thinking and do things like that, we're able to do that when we have a trusted system. So I'm a big fan of the David Allen getting things done system. And that's what he talks about a lot, is get things out of your head. But that only works if you trust the system. If your system is, I've got 17 Post-it notes and a notebook over there, and I think I left one in my car, and I have 3 apps, but I never look at them again, your brain knows that you're never finding that Post-it ever again, right?
Yeah.
So until you figure out what system works for you, and that is the thing that you're going back to again and again, then your brain doesn't really trust that it's going to be able to find it again. And then you can really feel like overwhelmed and like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. And wasn't there something I was supposed to do on Tuesday? And I don't like living like that. So I think it's like you said, Emily, it's sometimes hard to figure out the right system for you. And there's no one size fits all. You really have to do the work to figure out what makes sense for you. And it doesn't have to work for your whole life. Like that system I described is what I do for my personal life. For business, I use OneNote and a notebook for work, and I have a different way of doing it that works well for my work life. But again, that takes time to figure out too. So you do kind of have to be patient with yourself, but that trusted system you were talking about is so the key to all of it, I think.
Yes, I completely agree. So then for you girls, for you ladies, sorry, what advice would you give someone as they're going through the process of figuring out their style? I mean, I know you said don't give up, but I mean, how do we keep our motivation going to figure this out?
My one suggestion would be don't try multiple things all at once, because it's going to inevitably fail you in one area or another. And more often than not, it's going to end in frustration. If you are gravitating towards paper because you have a friend who has a really cute planner, try that. You may not necessarily need to go out and buy the most expensive planner, but find one at your local craft store or something where you can feel good about, hey, I used a coupon and I feel good about what I'm doing because this is just an experiment. In that you are experimenting with that avenue of processing and trying to be organized, be genuine about it. Try to really give it an honest go. Don't just kind of get into it, because if you don't put the effort in, you won't really know if that style or that process works for you. So, be genuine about trying to be diligent. If you know you're only going to use it once, maybe that's not going to be the best option. And observing, gosh, I really liked how the paper planner worked, or I never look at this. So what's the next option for me? I think trying multiple organization skills is probably my best suggestion.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So I'm kind of going to piggyback on what you were saying, Stephanie, is to kind of go with your gut. You probably have some sense whether you're a paper person or an app or an electronic kind of person. So probably just go with your gut. If you never have a pen and paper around you, don't pick pen and paper, because it's probably not going to be a good idea. I would also say don't spend 7 years trying to figure out what all of the reviews on all of the internet say is the best app. Just find one that you probably already have on your phone or your computer, what works with your operating system, and just pick it and try it, like you were saying, Stephanie. And then I think the key from there is sort of the idea of being the scientist, not the judge, so that you're thinking of it as an experiment. An experiment is fun. What's going to happen? And you're looking at it through that lens, hopefully, so that at the end of the week, if you're like, well, I thought that this was going to work, but I need more space for this, think about, what do I need to change to make it work, and not just being the judge who says, well, you didn't do that all week, so clearly you can't do this, you stink. But rather, what could I tweak, put on my scientist hat, what could I change to make this work for me? This might be the way the planner is built or the way that the app says this is the template that you should use, but that doesn't fit my life. So what was the piece that was missing? I missed this dentist appointment. So clearly I need to change this part. So what's the part I need to tweak for me? And coming at it from that like curiosity instead of just getting frustrated. I think we tend to judge ourselves and say, well, it works for everyone else. So I don't know why it didn't work for me. I must just be broken. Well,
Right.
probably not, but you just need to tweak it for you and no one knows exactly what you need.
I think you guys are spot on. And so a couple things are coming to mind for me. So one of them is this, when I'm working with my, I guess I call them coworkers and I'm coaching them, the very first thing I start with is a glow and grow moment. Where did you glow? Where did your light shine this week? And where could you have found a place to grow from? And I found that especially when working with myself and others, that by taking that stance, it lessens the criticism aspects and increases the opportunity for problem solving and real growth. So that's coming to mind. And then another thing that's coming to mind is a reward system for this kind of thing. Now, rewards don't always have to be tangible, right? You don't have to say, oh, well, if I do this, then I get to buy myself ice cream, or I get my nails done, or I get to buy this beautiful yarn for a sweater. That might work for you though. So choose that. For me, I find that I already spend enough money, so I don't want my rewards to be tangible. So for instance, this next week, I made a goal that I have a tendency, A, not to take my breaks, and B, even if I'm on break, I never actually leave my home office. And so this next week, I'm in a really intense training. And so my goal is that 5 times this next week during a break, I will leave that room and stretch, move my body, take the dog out, what have you. Now, there's more than 5 opportunities for me to take a break next week. But I've said if I take 5 breaks, then I can take a drive out to Chugiak, and go for a hike in the snow. So that's my reward, right?
Absolutely.
And the same kind of concept can be utilized in this situation. Like if I am able to provide myself with the time to sit down and plan out my day or my week 3 times this week, then I get a reward of some sort, right? Mm-hmm. And that can give you the incentive to actually motivate you to do this. What do you guys think about that?
I agree.
Yeah, I like it. And I think too, you could tie it in with sort of the experimental sort of option of, maybe you don't go buy anything, even if you want the paper planner. Maybe your goal is to find that random notebook in your house, find samples on Etsy or wherever else of what people put in their planners. If you do that for a week, then maybe you buy some stickers. And if you do it for a month, maybe you then actually purchase a planner, or you try an app that's free. And if you use it for a month, then you pay for the version that has all the bells and whistles that at that point you're excited to try. Like if you can try to tie that treat into the theme of your thing, which like Emily, yours was actually taking breaks and giving yourself that self-care. It's like you get more self-care if you do the breaks during the week. Like it all kind of lines up. I think that can make it really rewarding.
I completely agree. And on that note, actually, because this came to my mind when Steph, if you were going to say something.
Go ahead. No, I'm with you.
But I was really struggling to find a format that worked for me. And even this planner now doesn't completely work for me. I fixed it a lot. But I'm okay because the lines are light enough that I'm okay with writing over the lines and stuff. But what I ended up doing was I went online and just Google searched daily workflow template. And then I searched, I think I did a to-do list template and a couple others. And then I just printed out the images that came up. And then I just gave them all a try. And if I hated one, I was like, well, that one's going away. Right. Or if I liked the aspect of this one, I highlighted that. And then, you know, and if I liked the aspect of the other one, I highlighted that. And
trial and error.
Yeah. I mean, that's what scientists do. And if we're not scientists of our own lives, what are we? We're just flotsam and jetsam in the river, right?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think especially these days, I think people want kind of one size fits all. Like, give me a prescription. Like, I have enough going on, and you see that a lot in like the diet and wellness industry. Like, what's the pill? Can I just? Where's your diet? Where's the plan? Give me the recipe. But someone could say that, you know, this diet is the best diet, or you really need more whole grains, or whatever it is. But if they don't agree in your body, it doesn't matter if every other person is saying that's the right thing to do. You still have to experiment for yourself. You know, you might find that you get bloated every time you have beets or whatever it is. And if everyone's saying that's the superfood, you have to eat beets every day, that may not work for you. And it's the same thing with planning. Like, no one knows exactly what you need. So you might be able to get close, but you're the one who has to try it to figure that out.
I completely agree.
One size does not fit all.
Never.
Well,
I don't care how stretchy it is.
Yeah. And I feel like, okay, so transitioning this whole planning our life thing, morphing it into planning our creative life. And to kick us off, Steph, did you text me this morning or was it yesterday about your 30-minute thing?
That was this morning.
Okay, so to kick us off, you had an idea that you want to try and incorporate into your life. So would you kind of walk us through that really quick?
So for me, I can't really take credit for it. I saw Kay, the crazy sock lady, who I'm a super big fan of, and she's a super sweet friend. She does a 30-minute a day where she sits down and she tackles one project. It's not her regular knitting, so it's not maybe her socks on the go or her project at hand. It's something more of like a treat knitting that you may not necessarily set up time for when you're thinking about knitting in your crafting life. And I thought, you know, there are some things that I kind of want to have a secret knitting, you know, something that not everybody knows about, that at the end I can say, hey, look what I did. I don't know, something silly like that. So I told Emily, I'm going to set aside 30 minutes. And if it means I literally need to put a timer on my phone and do 30 minutes, then I'll do that. Now, I have two little ones at home that are hybrid school. So it may mean that I have to get up early to do that because the house is quiet at that time. Or maybe it means that while they're eating lunch on a break, I eat either earlier or later to accommodate that. But planning and setting aside that 30 minutes to work on just a special project that maybe is just for me, or I don't know what it is yet, but seeing how that works. I don't know if it's something I'll stick with. Maybe I'll get super excited and just keep going. I don't know, but it was just something new that I thought, well, I think I could carve out 30 minutes just for that each day. And what intrigued me the most was thinking, if it's only 30 minutes a day, I wonder what I could accomplish on that one project in a month's time.
Ooh.
So
probably more than you would think.
I think a lot more than I would think. And that's not necessarily how I think about my knitting traditionally, but it was just something new I thought about.
Oh, that's so fun. You haven't started yet, right?
No, I think I like I said, I kind of want to do like a secret knitting where I could say, hey, in 2 months, this is what I have, or, you know, who knows what it is, but yeah, like a secret project that no one really knows about, but you know, maybe I post on Instagram, 30-minute knitting time right now, you know, or something different.
Do you think you would track that? I mean, do you want to track how often you're able to succeed at doing it, or do you want it to be more organic?
I would say kind of both. I'm not going to be as stringent in that it has to be every day at the exact same time, but I do really want to do a 30-minute quick sit down and get it done. Like I said, because I have other things going on at home, that require my attention, maybe I do need to get up a little early and do it then, or I can squeeze it in at a different time. So organic in that, but rigid enough that I would like to do 30 minutes a day.
And I get a little overwhelmed with the idea of adding something like that in, because every day, 30 minutes, I think to myself, where in the world am I going to find that? And honest to goodness, I could find it. Yeah. Because just like you were talking about, I would just need to move things around and be creative. So I think for me, if I was to try something like this, I would probably do the same thing I did with my goal for next week of the the little breaks. I would probably say, like, if I could get 3 days starting out this week, or, okay, so like how I do it for my exercising.
Yeah.
I tell myself, Emily, your goal this month is, so this month is the month of February. So my goal is 65 minutes on the bike, no less than 17 miles, and no less than, I try to stick above 90 RPMs on the bike at all times. And so I've got a very regimented thing for that. And I have a certain number of times I need to accomplish that. So then I can be ready for my next step in March, which is going to be 75 minutes, right? And so on and so forth. So for me, graduating up, that's what I'm trying to get at. Graduating up would work for me. But for you, just diving in, deep diving works for you.
And I think that's the difference of defining what is tangible for everyone's own situation. We all know ourselves. We know what we're going to do. We want to know what we're really not going to do. And finding the comfort in, well, I want to make this something that's enjoyable. I don't want this to be a struggle. I don't want my crafting to be, oh, I've got to get that 30 minutes in a day. We all know our level of where that hits for us. And so, I think the individuality, even just between you and I, Emily, knowing where your strength is or where my ability to do things, make it work for yourself, essentially.
So I kind of do something like what you're doing, Stephanie, already in kind of 2 different ways it plays out. So in January, I decided that I wanted to spin every day. And then my goal was 10 minutes. And like, you can find 10 minutes. Like, I can't always find a half an hour for things, but I figured I could find 10 minutes. And so I started out mostly doing that first thing in the morning. Like, I'd literally get up, brush my teeth, get my glass of water, and come down here and spin for 10 minutes. And I would set a timer. So that if I wanted to, or somehow I had more time, great. I mostly work out in the mornings now with this new sort of COVID schedule and whatnot. So it's a great way to kind of just wake up my body a little bit. I'm moving my legs and doing a few things, but it's not that stressful. And it's kind of a nice way to ease into the day. So that's what I started doing in January. And sometimes I do it at night or at other times. And then I liked that well enough that in February, I decided, all right, I can probably do 15 minutes, but I don't think it's going to be the kind of thing in terms of ramping up. Like, I'm not going to get to like 80 minutes a day. Like, I'm not interested in that. Like, that's not what it's about for me. But then another thing that I do that's sort of related is, I do often have design stuff I'm working on, or birthday gifts I'm working on, or things like that do kind of have a deadline, or that I would like to have a deadline. And so often what I'll do is not say, I have to finish this mitten, or I have to, finish whatever the thing is. I'll just say, today I'm going to work 15 minutes on this hat, and I'm going to work 15 minutes on this toy. And again, it's kind of small enough bites that if I have more time and I'm having fun with it, I'll keep going on the toy. And if I'm working well on the design and it feels great, then I go with it. And if it's a mess, I only had to work on it for 15 minutes, figure out what I need to redo. Maybe I'm going to rechart it or something else. But then you do kind of find that if you're really into something, then you're diving into stuff you love. But then maybe tomorrow you say, all right, well, that project's been pretty unloved. I'm just going to put that back on the list.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. And it also, I think this moderation of things that we're talking about here, it helps it so that you don't become burnt out on any one thing. But also though, the kind of things that you're talking about, knitting or any kind of crafting is probably 90% at least muscle memory, right? So this whole idea of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, you're training yourself. And people are constantly saying, I don't know how you knit. I could never knit, right? We all have heard that, right?
Yeah.
But it's because we're putting in the time and effort each day. We've made this a priority in our lives. And it's looking different for each of us. Like Jen, she sprinkles it throughout her day, starting first thing in the morning. I generally can only, I'm going to be truthful, guys. This whole knitting in the morning thing, I've tried it and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Yeah.
Not at all.
No, my muscle dexterity in the morning, at least the fine muscle skills, just ain't there. I can't do it.
But that's all right. At least you know yourself enough to say, this is not good for me.
Yeah. However, knitting until midnight or 2 a.m, I can do that.
There you go.
Right. And then Stephanie, she's knitting while she's multitasking, well, wait, do you knit while you're teaching the girls? I can't remember.
I can do this.
Yeah.
While I'm teaching I can do this with my eyes closed and at the grocery store. I mean, we all know we've got that rhythm where we can just focus enough to do the other task. It depends. It depends on the day. It depends on the kid. It'll be, 5-6 stitches here and I got to throw it down because we got to go over a math skill. Or on a hybrid day where they're at school, I don't have the entire day to myself. I mean, I have things I need to get done in my day. So it varies from day to day. But yeah, it kind of goes in spurts for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what we're saying here is that there's no answer that we can give you to how to organize your life, organizing your working life, and your balance between that. I mean, I think that's a whole different subject, talking about balance. Mm-hmm. But we've talked about like how you motivate yourself, how you approach multiple ways on how you could approach finding your path. And also, we've given you multiple ways to incorporate your love, your desires into your daily life. And so I'm hoping, and I think I speak for all of us when I say that you riff off of this and find your own. Mm-hmm. Like, when Jen was talking a minute ago about, I kind of do a little bit of what you're talking about there, Stephanie. Well, you guys take a little bit off and make it your own, So, do you guys have any closing thoughts before we wrap up? Or anything we didn't cover that you feel is important?
I don't think so. I think I would just say that I'd love to hear what other people do. And it's always interesting to me, like some people set really specific, like knitting goals or crafting goals for the year. That's not something that I do because I feel like I make the things that I really enjoy and I don't need to have a list in order to get that done. But I'm always curious to see sort of what kind of goals people do set and then how they track them. So I would love to hear from anyone who's watching, if they would comment and just share what they do and how they do it. And if they have any good tips, I always love to see that.
Yeah. I definitely agree. Please comment below about all of this. And we'll also be posting on Instagram. So I think we'll have some discussion over there as well. But thank you. Yeah, I mean, Steph.
I think I mimic both of you in that you have to find what works best for you. Don't feel like you have to organize to the point of exhaustion. Organize just enough that it brings you joy. Because if it's overwhelming and making a mess of everything, it's not worth doing. So make it work for you and enjoy it.
Yeah. And we didn't even get to talk about organizing our crafting space.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to do a part 3 another time.
I know, right? Before I was texting them earlier today, everybody, and I was saying, so yeah, too much to talk about. Ain't no way this is going to be all held in 1 hour. So, well, once again, I want to thank beautiful BostonJen and the very talented Stephanie for joining in today on the AndersMill Knits podcast. And remember, everyone, to knit what you love,
And love what you knit.
Ta-ta for now.
Bye.
Oh, wait, hold on. Here we go.